All right. Hey, welcome to the every other Sunday live stream for Rooftops of America. Hope you're all having a wonderful Sunday evening. And I'm your host, Skymar Taylor. Thanks for being here tonight. Um, yeah, welcome to, I think this is our first, we do the mental math. I think this is our first June live stream, right? Yeah. So welcome to June, everybody. Um, I hope the start of this month has been good so far. This time next week, I'll actually be coming back from DC after visiting my brother. That's the plan. So for Sunday on Juneteenth, we'll be having a family barbecue. But the 2 days prior to that, I'll be heading up to Vermont to shoot Mount Mansfield. I'm really excited about that. So heading up early Friday morning. It's going to be about a 7-hour drive from here in Pennsylvania to get up to Mansfield. So I'm really looking forward. A couple places I'm really looking forward to seeing is Smuggler's Notch. Getting some good drone footage through there, I'm hoping. And on Little River State Park, seeing some of the old the ruins of some of the farms that used to be in the area. Hey Archie, thanks for being here tonight. Hope you're doing well. Hope everything's going good. So yeah, it turned out to be quite an interesting place to really research. I feel that the more and more I dug into it, it became apparent to me that even after, putting together a solid 8 pages of dialogue, that there is a lot there in that small little area of Vermont. I have a feeling a lot of Vermont is that way. There's just a ton of history in that state. So even what I think is going to be a relatively comprehensive episode, I do feel that I'm not going to do it I think you could be a lot more thorough. I think there would be enough stuff there for, there's plenty of good stories in that area. Hey Bill, how you doing tonight? Hope you're doing well. So, how's everybody else doing? What have you been up to since it turned over from May to June? Any adventures to speak of so far? Tonight's beverage of choice for me, besides a good Nalgene of water, is one of Pennsylvania's finest. It's Trogs Nimble Giant. I do like a good Trogs. Their Doppelbock Troganator is one of my favorite Doppelbocks. If you ever see it, I'd recommend picking it up if you get a chance. Go to the brewery. It's worth it. They got some good stuff there. So, but yeah, it's been along with getting Vermont, at least the script finished for Vermont. I actually started writing the script for New Hampshire. So I'm hoping to get that picked up and filmed. I think I want to do that one in July. Looking at the calendar, I think I'm going to do it the weekend after the 4th. So probably around, what would that be? July 8th, 9th, something like that. Same sort of thing. Drive up there one day, film, head up the mountain the following, then get back. So it'll be a rather quick turn. I feel, just getting into that place, that's going to be another, I think it'll be a fairly easy script to write, to be honest, for New Hampshire. Mount Washington's got a ton of stories around it. I mean, take a pick. You could put together, a great documentary just on the Mount Washington hill climb and all its various ways, shapes, and forms. that the railway there, the Cog Railway, is remarkable for what it is too. So, and I think, if I remember correctly, I want to say it is the first, um, what became a state high point that was climbed um, in the 1600s. There was, I can't think of the fellow's name, I've got it in the book, but definitely it's a good book worth tracking down. It's basically a history of mountaineering in the United States. So, um, but yeah, it's funny that when that fellow, particularly when he went up, mountaineering was just not a thing you did, and most of his fellow uh, Massachusetts neighbors thought of him rather mad in the head for doing such a thing. So it's funny how perspective has changed. Where now, climbing to the top of mountains, in some cases, some people might look at you as a little bit more a loon of sorts, but now it's a thing that is a lot more open about, or a lot more accepted, and it's held up as this great achievement. Whereas several hundred years ago, it would have been very ill advised to do such a thing. So, but that's that. So let's see what else is going on. In the last couple of weeks, we sorted out our dates for Arizona. It looks like it's going to be September 7th through the 11th. So after Labor Day, and head out there and try to refilm that whole thing. That one should be a lot of fun too. There's a lot of cool stuff. I mentioned this before, a lot of stuff we've left on we didn't get the first time around. So I'm just looking forward to getting back out there. It's been 7 years since I was there last, so this should be really cool. And then I think I've been hemming and hawing on what I want to do when I go back for this, my class of 1993 30-year reunion for high school, which is making me feel a little old. But it's Saturday, August 12th, so I'm gonna head back. I'm gonna go to that, and I've been debating. There are things I'd like to reshoot. What would be the ideal one? So the options are try to get up to the UP, redo Michigan, or Ohio. Class of 91. Bill, nice to know that you're my peer. Us 90s kids got to hang together. Did you go to your 30-year, Bill? And if so, was it worth it? Mine is going to be held in the Lake 11 Brewing Company in Medford, Wisconsin. So for those of you that can partake, if you do get to Timms Hill and you're heading back south, if you cut over towards Wisconsin 13 and then head straight south, you'll run right into Medford. Well, they do have a brewing company now, Lake 11, and it's owned by one of my classmates, actually, which is why we're having it there. And their beer is decent. I was pleasantly surprised when I went back this last November, and it was nice. It was good. So I'm hoping that it still holds true now that they've been up and running for over half a year. That it'll be still solid. So you didn't go. We're gonna find out if we're gonna find out. I'm gonna go. I went to the 10. I went to the 20. and go to the 30. Why not? Every single time I've went, I've made big declarations of things. So that 10-year one was all about, I'm leaving Wisconsin, I'm moving out east to DC, and I did. And the 20-year one was all about, I'm going to go climb the 50 highest points in the U.S. Or not the 50 state high points, not 50 highest points, 50 state high points in the U.S. And I did. So, well, shouldn't say I did. I'm hoping by that time I'll at least have 40 in the can in 2 territories. Can't leave those out. So, Archie, how about you? How are things going for you? I know you should be getting close to finishing out the year. Hopefully it's going well. Anybody got any June high point plans that they're looking forward to in the next couple of weeks? Somewhere along the line, I have to finish Pluto. Oh, nice. Congratulations. Good luck on the final 2. So, my kid actually finishes 4th grade in this week. So, huge backpacking trip in around 2 weeks. Where to? It's funny, I was actually talking to a friend of mine, a work colleague actually, work friend, that's probably appropriate, and he was telling me a story about how he hit the highest point in Long Island about a year back, and it made me think of you. I was like, oh, wait a second, Harriman State Park, upstate New York, very cool, very cool. So I have to figure out how to work that high point in when I do New York. This little park down this high point. That's nice to know. So I've always felt like when I wrote New York that I wanted to include Long Island. In my ideal world, I wanted to include, it would be a much more comprehensive piece. Walt Whitman right there. That's cool. I always thought that New York not only would include Mount Mercy, but as you traveled up and you got Long Island and then you included New York City because, hey, it's, one of the most premier cities in the world. And, the highest point there, and then get up to Marcy itself. Yeah, the 2 sides of New York. You could actually just sort of follow the river up a little bit, talk about the Catskills and, slowly work your way up to the Adirondacks. Because that part of New York is so key to a lot of how the state would eventually develop, and et cetera, et cetera. So go from Montauk, New York to Long Island High Point, see what I might see, up through the Catskills and Adirondacks. Not a bad idea. Not a bad idea at all. So I just recently read, I can't remember the date of the report, but there has been a recent scientific finding that actually laid out the claim that the Adirondacks are actually growing faster than they're eroding. For a long time, it was considered that they had either stopped and just started to get their erosion was superseding the growth, or they were sort of in balance. This is one of the few that I've seen recently that actually made the bold claim that the Adirondacks are still a growing range. They're still growing in height. So who knows? Maybe in 20,000 years, we're still hanging on in some way, shape, or form, that the U.S. state of New York will finally pass Nebraska. So But I have a feeling that, more research will have to be done. So, but yeah, I'm actually looking at the calendar. I've been trying to figure out when I can fit New York and Maine in. And while I really wanted to do one of the two this year, like get New York out of the way, I have this feeling that it's going to slip till next year. If I can get Vermont and New Hampshire, um, redo Ohio, redo Arizona, finish out the solar system series, that would probably be a decent run. That'll put me at 40. Still a long ways to go. Next year, I really need to focus on trying to get 3 big peaks out west. So looking forward into 2024, it would be Hood. I'd like to do Mount Hood in May of next year. And then pick up Idaho and then figure out, do we Idaho, or if I get the lottery, California? If not, is it worth looking into Montana? So folks that have been there, yeah, Arch, I'd gladly take your help with the New York episode. I'll definitely keep you in mind. So for folks that have already been up those peaks out west, what 3 would you string together in that northwest block? If you had to pick 3 for a season, what 3 would they be? And any thoughts behind it? I'd gladly take them. It's I realize that Hood will be I feel I have to do Hood first before I can even consider Rainier, because I'm going to have to go to school. I want to get a little mountaineering schooling in, just to get more comfortable being in crampons, more comfortable working that ice axe than I am now. And this is not something I've done often, and I think it would be helpful, especially when eventually we're going to make that shot at Gannett. And Gannett's going to be significant for a lot of reasons. So, and then I'd love to hear anybody's thoughts on Montana. So if you got them, put them in the chat or put them in the comments below. Gladly take that insight. Be welcome. And let's see, but that's next year. If I can sneak it in and somehow convince the family that we should go to Hawaii this winter, maybe we can get Mauna Kea in too, which would be awesome. So, yeah, I've only done Missouri, Arkansas, so no advice on those western ones. Well, Bill, got to get you out there. I always feel weird. This is like the Northwest. When people talk to me about high points, that's where I feel like the most of like the quote unquote imposter syndrome is when people start talking about those Northwest high points, and I'm like, well, I've seen them. Saw Rainier from an airplane. Saw Hood up close. Got a great photo of it. But yeah, I feel that I don't want to say that my high point credentials are called into question, but I feel that that's once you get through those, you're really you've really done it. You've proven it. It's I was going back. One of the things I've always wanted to do was I wrote the start of a documentary. I think at some point I think I could cobble it together on Arthur Marshall. And for those of you that aren't familiar with him, he's the guy that is the first to ever complete the state high points. He completed it in, 1936? something like that. I've got it written down. He completes it in Indiana. It's one of the Indiana high points. Claims to fame is Marshall finishing up there in the woods of Indiana. But he started, his first one that he started with was Hood, I believe. And then he did all those peaks out west. And then he slowly moved through it. And he's got this fascinating story. In his journal, actually, you can find his journal. It is available online, and it's an interesting read. But it took him a while to do it. He starts, I think, in 1919. He's part of the a climbing club out there, and I can't think of their name either. They start with an M. But I always thought it'd be cool to sort of follow his route, to look at his writings, and then film this documentary on this guy. What's interesting about him is he dies before Hawaii and Alaska are admitted to the Union. So the United States he knows is just the 48 contiguous states. And that's what he goes and tackles. What's really interesting also about how he goes about doing his stuff is if you look at his list, you'll find discrepancies. Government Peak is the peak he climbs in Michigan because they didn't know it was Arvin yet. They wouldn't know that until 1982, almost 40 years later. His high point in Nebraska is the county to the north of where the high point is now. His high point in Arkansas is something different too. In fact, he goes back to Arkansas to do magazine from the one he'd actually done earlier. So it's a really interesting sort of time capsule of this adventure this guy goes on, and how at that time our surveys were okay, but they weren't finished. And I think that's one of the interesting things about it as well. It's just seeing how it's changed, and then you gotta wonder what's going to be, as we keep getting better and better at aerial satellite imagery, geospatial, what's going to be some of the things that change with accuracy of measurement? Does Timms Hill continue to reign supreme, or does Pearson Hill, and so many people in that particular area would tell you, is that actually the taller one? Or the same thing, does Michigan have yet another surprise up there where we find out that, oh, wait a second, Arvin's not the tallest. It was yet again someplace different. So that's one of the things I think will be really fascinating to see is if anything shakes out in the next decade or 2 decades as we continue to improve our surveying techniques. So it'll be, because I believe the last one to really shake it up was Michigan. And the situation in PA, yeah, that's right. So that one actually probably has a bigger chance of changing than I think some of the others. So it'll be fascinating to see. Which means repeat trips. As long as the big Western ones, stay relatively solid, I'll be okay with that. The little ones like, oh yeah, we found something new in Pennsylvania. No problem. Do that next weekend. Whereas, oh, by the way, you thought granite was bad in Montana. Wait till you see where do you get a load of this? So, but that's that. It's always been surprising to me, with the exception of Denali, which is in a league of its own, but that a majority of the high points Like, there's no outrageous. None of them are outrageous. Like, you can't. I'm going to date myself. But if you remember back to, like, watching Bugs Bunny cartoons on Saturday mornings, or, and you see when they put an image of a craggy mountain, it looks this crazy extreme thing. There's none of that. I've always thought that was one of the more fascinating things about the state high points. That none of them are really that outrageous. I suppose you could put an argument out there for Gannett, but compared to some of the other peaks in this country, it's just not. So, yeah, Bill, I'll have to dig that up. I remember seeing it after I redid the Pennsylvania episode last year, and I was kicking myself for not finding that sooner. I'm going to have to go look again to find the exact bit about it. I don't know if, Archie, you want to dig it up quick, but yeah, there has been some information put forth. So this one is going to be a little brief, I think, tonight. We go another couple minutes, and then we'll close off. It's a big week coming up at work, and we've got things afoot. So I need to be on my best for this coming week. So if anybody's got any other thoughts, comments they want to throw out, it'll be a good time. Trying to think what else has been of interest lately. Not much, really. I mean, I'm just so laser focused on Vermont now. I've got, like I said, script's finished. We're now in the part where I need to learn the lines. So for the next couple of days, it's going to be memorization. What are you thinking, Archie, for Delaware? I mean, I can be around almost easily. It's 30 minutes from my house. So it's more of a question, when are you guys thinking about coming through? Is there a particular weekend? If you do it over Independence Day, I think we'll all be here. I think we'll be that Independence Day weekend. And I can almost guarantee you that the Delaware High Point will not be crowded on Independence Day weekend. I think I'm pretty much around, other than this coming weekend up. The first half of this coming week, the 16th and 17th, but for the rest of the month, yeah, most of July I'll be here. So, except for, I believe, the weekend after Independence Day. If all goes well, I'll do New Hampshire then. So, we got a couple more of these to shake out, and I'll have get firmer dates as we go forward. So, yeah, let me know when you're coming down. Anybody, if you come through, see Ebright Asmith, hit me up. Like I said, 30 minutes away. It's the only other state high point I've ever lived this close to, besides the one I grew up next to in Wisconsin. And so, same thing, 30 minutes away. So I think it's rather funny that Delaware is also just 30 minutes away. So, though, to be honest, if I was going to give somebody a tour, I'd rather take them to Timms Hill. But that said, there is a pretty good butcher's not too far away from the Delaware High Point. Also, there's also the nice thing about that one is you're close to Wilmington, and there's a couple other good places to go down there for eats and things like that. So, but yeah, if you do the Delaware High Point and you want to get a hike in, I've mentioned this before. I don't think we talked about it in that redo. Um, I would gladly show you guys where the Mason-Dixon line, the tri-point is for Pennsylvania, Delaware, and Maryland is. It's actually relatively close. You go down about 20 minutes away, and it's a nice little hike. And you get to actually have a hike because you're not going to get one right Azimuth. But you get a nice hike there, and it's a good walk in the woods, and it's a really cool bit of history. So that is usually my going recommendation. Like, if you're coming to Eat Right Azimuth, take the time to include that. Get that tri-point if you can. At some point, we probably should talk about tri-pointing because that's something that I've dabbled in. I haven't really gone completely all in on it like some folks have. So for those that are wondering what tri-pointing is, tri-pointing is the name for going to basically the boundaries where states meet up. 3 of them. There's only one quad point in the United States, the 4 corners. And there is, 38 tri-points, including the international ones. So that would be like the North Dakota, Montana, Saskatchewan tri-point, So, but they're usually a fun little pickup. It's another little thing to add, another bit on that list. Yeah, I don't have much more than that. I think, Bill. For me, it's always been, if I see one and it's close, I'll be like, oh, that's fun. And that's how I pick. Usually that's my tri-pointing. So I do know some people have gone on some pretty epic journeys for them. I guess the Western ones are absolutely wild. It's a weird thing again. Not crazy as county high pointing, but some of them are owned by private landowners. Some of them are not. Some of them are actually, there's trails out to them and that. Another easy one for folks to pick up, if you do Girina Hill in Rhode Island, it's really easy to pick up that Massachusetts, Connecticut, Rhode Island tri-point. Yeah, look at you. You got a cool one down with Louisiana, Texas, and Arkansas. That's the one near the Sabine River, I believe. That one actually has some interesting history behind it. So that's really cool. My goal is I should have picked up. I'm going to pick it up this coming weekend. I'm going to pick up the Vermont, New Hampshire, Massachusetts one. I got to look to make sure it's not like in a river. Not like in the heart of the Connecticut River. But yeah, it is a fun little thing. Anyway, on that note, if you don't mind, I think I'm going to adjourn a little early tonight. Thanks everybody for being here. I really appreciate it. And if you guys got anything you want to know or any topics you think you want me to talk about, don't hesitate to put them in the chat. Happy to dive into other things, high point related, hiking related, even just general history related. I love it, and it's always fun. So cool. Yeah. Thanks, Archie. I'll be in touch. Hey, traveling around, man. High point number 24, New Jersey. Congratulations. Kittatinny Mountain's awesome. It's surprisingly awesome view up there. I actually have been to that one twice, and once in the winter, once in the summer, and I like that one. I know it's easy, but it's still a really... Archie, you gotta do it when it's clear. If you get a chance, go back and get it when it's clear because it does provide a great view. So, on that note, fellows, thanks for being here, and I will see you guys in 2 weeks.